Hello, folks. Hopefully, we are now live streaming, and I've set myself to start a minute or two early today because I am without my amazing daughter and assistant, so I'm doing this alone. So I am going to wait to start for a minute or two. If you're watching this after it was live, then please, if you're watching after we were live, then please do bear with me. Go and grab yourself a cuppa or a glass of water, and we will be starting in a minute or two. Now, I'm going to have a drink. Just water. If you're joining me in Zoom, I will let you in whenever I see somebody in the waiting room. If you're joining me via LinkedIn, then good morning, lovely to see you. And likewise, if you're joining via Eventbrite. Now, I have got a couple of worksheets for today. Those of you who booked your place through Eventbrite, I sent that to you this morning as an email attachment. And those of you who booked through LinkedIn, you will find the worksheets in the description, in the chat on LinkedIn. And those of you joining via Zoom, I am putting the links in our chat, and I'm doing that right now. There we go. So it is now 10:15 for those of you watching live. And because I know we're all incredibly busy people, I am going to get started at the time that we're due to begin. So may I start by welcoming you. Hello, everyone. I'm Dinah, and I am going to be sharing with you today some ideas and top ways to make sure that the website that you're putting all your effort into as a business owner is actually getting found for the right reasons, and that people are staying on the site once they've found you. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to share a presentation with you. There we go, and I'm going to do it as a slideshow. Oops. So there we go. Good morning, everybody. For those of you just joining us, we are just about to begin. And today we are talking about building a website that pulls its weight. We put so much effort into our sites as micro businesses or small businesses, and it can be really demoralizing when we kind of look at our figures at the end of a month. And I do encourage you to do that. Have a look at the stats, how many people are visiting. It can be very demoralizing when we go and we look at those statistics and we see either that the numbers are very low in what we perceive to be very low, or we find that people are getting to the site but leaving very quickly, clearly not reading through much or clicking through things, certainly not buying the products that we hoped they would or the services. So we're going to look today at what we can do about that. And these are the things specifically that we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about what your website is really for, because I'm not sure that we really know what our website is for. Everybody says you've got to have a website, but they don't really explain what it then has to do. And so we make a lot of assumptions. I know when I started my first business, I just went and looked at lots of other websites and thought, well, maybe that's what mine's supposed to do then. So let's get clear today on what it's actually for. We're going to look at the core pages that you need on your site. And these are the pages that will convert In other words, they're the pages that are going to create the business for you. We're going to look at design versus function. Most of us, not all of us, I'm sure, but most of us, in my experience, coaching business owners now for almost 30 years, there is this sense that the design is what we put most of our effort into. And I'm going to suggest today that perhaps we need to do that slightly differently, and we'll talk about why. We're going to talk about trust and action. Two things that on your website are absolutely key to its success. Are you establishing and building trust? And are you making it possible and simple for people to take action? And I'll be giving you something to do after the webinar today. One of those downloads is something for you to do after today's session. And to make this time worth it for you, I highly suggest that you schedule this into your calendar to get it done as quickly as you can while today's suggestions and ideas are still fresh. So what is your website really for? I would love you to jot down a few things that you think it's important that your website is there for. Take just a minute to do that. 2 or 3 quick headline things. So I saw a really beautiful, very simple description that I feel summarizes very well what your website is really there for. It is a tool to build trust and prompt action. What do I mean by that? Well, it is a tool because it's something that works. It's something you use practically. And when people get to the tool, when they land on your site, you need this thing to build trust. You need it to say, I'm real, I'm a human. And we need to say that more and more. I must say, I find it deeply ironic that I now often visit sites where it asks me to prove that I'm real. I'm having to prove to an artificial intelligence that I'm a real human. There's something the wrong way around there. But yes, it is a tool that means we need to build trust that says, I'm real, I exist. Before you purchase from me, before you make a commitment to work with me, you can look at this and establish I'm real, I exist, I have a history, I have things on my website that are going to build trust in me. And it needs to make you want to take action. It's lovely to go and visit a website that you think, gosh, that was beautiful. And it was really engaging. And I loved reading the articles and they were very insightful. But then what happens? Did you leave or did you purchase? And if we're not making it really, really easy for people to take action, they will find our site interesting, then go away and visit a competitor's site who, because it's easier to take action, is actually going to end up getting their business. Now, the other thing that your website is for is to answer 2 questions as quickly as it possibly can. I know from my own experience, when I'm searching for something, whether it's a service, a hotel, a holiday, clothes, something for the business, I need to know I'm in the right place. And I need to know that within seconds. Now that I've got here, is this the site I thought it was? So is it for me? And if I can't tell that very quickly, I'm going to leave. I don't have the time. Everybody is, time hungry, time poor. So make sure literally within seconds they're saying, yes, I'm in the right place. And the other thing they need to know is, so now what? Now that I'm here, Where do I go to push the button for that offer that I saw them talking about on Instagram or LinkedIn? Or we often want through our social media to get people to our website, but once they've got there, do they know what they're expected to do? So what should I be doing next? Look around the page I've landed on. Is it obvious? I'd like you to take a minute or two. In fact, I'm going to give you 3. And I want you to look at your home page on your own website. How long does it take for somebody to say, is this where I should be? Is this the right site for me? And what do I do next? 3 minutes. Go on. I've got another minute. And by the way, if it's taking you this long to answer those 2 questions, that's too long. So I'm not going to give you the full 3 minutes. I'm going to stop and I'm going to say, seriously, if it's taken that long to work out, am I in the right place and how do I take my next step? You really need to address that on the pages people are landing on, because they will leave. They will just not stay. People are very, very quick to make a decision about staying on a website. So who's getting it right? When did you last visit a website and end up leaving having purchased something or committed to an event or signed up to something? I really want you to think about, when was the last time that happened for you, and what was it for? Go back to that site right now. Open the internet again, go back to that site where you last purchased or committed to something and look at the page. What was it about that site that made you think, yes, okay, I'm going to do that right now? I'm not suggesting plagiarism here. I'm suggesting we learn from the people who are getting it right. And I know one of the things I find very frustrating is trying to renew my insurance for my business. There are a couple of websites that just get it horribly wrong, including some of the really big ones. And if you find a site that gets it right, you tend to save it and go back to it year after year. I've ended up with the same business insurance broking company for nearly 10 years because their website is so easy to use, to the point that when I get my renewal every year, once I've read through it, there is a "do you want to renew? Yes or no" button. It's so simple. So what was right on the site that made you do this may well be lacking on your own site. And learn from the people who persuaded you, because that's going to work with other people too. Let's look a little bit at the core pages on a website. Now, remember, we want people on our website to purchase or to commit. Ideally, we want them to be committing to work with us or to buy our service. And there are pages on our website that absolutely influence that decision. The first of those is your homepage. Now, your homepage needs to be the one that's very clear about its positioning so that people know immediately, yes, I'm in the right place. This is for me. And sometimes we think, well, I've made that very clear in the name I've given my site. It's got to be bigger than that. Think about everything on that page. Is it all giving a clear message of what and who this is for? Am I, when I land on your website, thinking, phew, I'm in the right place? Or am I looking and searching for evidence of that? You know, if you're trying to appeal to a certain, I don't know, demographic in the market, when they open the website, do they see images that feel like them? Oh, this feels like, you know, my kind of place because the colours of the background are pretty. Probably not. That's not going to be the influence. But an image of someone who looks like me, that then I'm instantly thinking, okay, I'm in the right place. Trust markers are huge on this first page. If you have any form of testimonial, review, video footage of people thanking you, make sure at least one or two are on that homepage, and not right at the bottom in the footer, but before I've had to scroll. I want to know what somebody else thinks about you. Another big trust marker for many of us is we are members of a professional organisation, or we have completed a bit of training or a qualification, and we will have received something that acknowledges that. One of the things I do when I train celebrants is at the end of their training, I send them a little sort of logo that says, I'm a graduate of the Celebrant Coaching and Training Academy. And it's a logo that means when people click on it, they go to my website and they see that this is a training company that's approved by the trade association. So it's obviously a certain standard. So I give credibility to a student. I give them a trust marker that they can put on their website. And it always surprises me how many of them don't put that on their site. It may be in, you know, getting caught up in the moment, we just forget these things. But what have you got like that? What training have you completed? What qualifications or certifications do you have? Put the images with links that show people, okay, I can see that's a real relevant thing, because that immediately builds your credibility, which creates more trust. And if I feel safe, if I feel you are trustworthy, I am more likely to make the commitment to purchase from you. It all sounds so simple, doesn't it, when we think about it logically like this? And other trust markers, of course, testimonials, but also something like a link to your professional profile on LinkedIn. If you've been on LinkedIn a long time, you may well have a large number of testimonials on your LinkedIn profile. So share that. Make it easy for people to look and find ways to see, are you the person or the business I think you are? And the other thing, and we're really bad at this, is we need a call to action. And it needs to be incredibly obvious and really simple. So again, if you can do it, make sure it's before they first scroll down the page. And remember, when you're doing this, a very large proportion of people looking at your website are looking at it on a mobile phone or some other portable device. Think about the size of the average mobile phone screen. That's what they're having to scroll through constantly. So you want this clear positioning, the trust markers, and the call to action to have been visible and interactable with, is that a word? Yes. Interactable with before they've had to scroll probably more than twice, because otherwise they're going somewhere else where they can. Now, the about page, we used to put about me. Lots of small businesses start to build a team and it becomes about us. But your about page is really important to people. This is where connection happens. And a really good way to do this, I was set this challenge many, many years ago by an amazing business coach. She said, I'd love you to write your about me page without using the word me or I, and you can't write it in third person. I think it was one of the cleverest challenges I've ever been set in regards to business marketing. There's a phrase, don't we all over you, sorry. But what it really means is, don't talk about we offer this or I offer this, I can do this, I provide this, I'm the best at. Nobody cares about that. They want to know what you can do for them. So you are looking for, you deserve, you need, it's make it as much about you, not me, as you possibly can. And so a client focused story, almost like saying, look, here's an example of what we do and how it came out, that's relatable, that shows the kinds of things you offer and what matters to you. That works way better than saying, here's a CV all about me. Here's all the clever things I've done. Your services page. Now, if you have lots and lots and lots of different services, it may be that you need a master services page and then sort of sub pages off that. Don't overcomplicate. Again, remember, they're looking at this on a phone. If I've got to scroll down 37 times to find the service I'm looking for, I've left. So keep it as simple as you possibly can. And it needs to be skimmable. And what do I really mean by that? Well, give me clear headings and subheadings. And here's a little extra tip on this. Your H1, H2, H3, and I think they go to H5 headings, certainly in WordPress, if that's where you've built your website, you need to be using all of these, lots of variety in your headings. But what most of us don't know, I certainly didn't learn this for years of having my websites up and running. In fact, I think I only really learned this a couple of years ago. The name of your page and your H1 heading, and you should only use an H1 heading once. The name of the page and the H1 heading should not be the same. I had always assumed they should, or were. No, you need your name of your page and you need an H1 heading. And a really good place to put that is after your first introductory simple paragraph. And your H1 heading needs to be what people are likely to be searching for to find this page on Google or other search engines. I know we always want to say other search engines, but keeping this real, over 99% of searches in the last 18 months were done on Google. So it is Google that you have to be most conscious of. That doesn't mean people looking on other search engines won't find you, because most of them, whether they're more ethical or not, or whatever their reason for existing, most of them are using very similar ways of deciding who to show and how to rank us. And the services page needs to be outcome oriented. Now, what do I mean by that? This is the page where you really want people taking action. It has to be very clear. You've looked at my service. This is how you buy it. You've looked at my list of events. This is how you book the first one. You've looked at the services I offer as a freelancer. Here is where you book the call to talk to me about the project. It's got to be absolutely the focus of that page. If they're not taking action on that page, they're not taking any action at all. They'll have gone. I was asked recently by somebody whether I thought we should put our prices for things on our services page. I am a great believer that yes, it's essential that you do. And I'm sure there are lots of people who will say, well, mine are priced by a project, and because I'm freelance, it all depends on. Fine, but you need to tell people what they can expect to pay between. So my rates are from per hour, or my day rate starts at. It's got to have a price. I would never walk into a shop that had things in the window with no prices. I would make the assumption, and I could be wrong, but that's the loss for the business. I would make the assumption it's going to be very expensive in here. I'm just not going to go in. And the last page, and it's the one we often forget because we think, well, I'm putting this information in the footer of every page of my site. We do still really benefit by having a contact page. And this needs to be very easily found. We have beautiful, clever websites these days that don't always display every bit of our menu. You have to find it. Make sure people aren't having to work too hard to find your contact page. And it needs to have minimal friction. Now, what we mean by that in terms of a website is I shouldn't have to go through lots of steps before I can click on finding you, talking to you, connecting with you. So on that contact page, which is clearly visible on your website, right at the top, and maybe shared again on all your other pages, there need to be simple links and buttons and bits of information. I'm amazed by how many websites don't have a phone number anymore. We seem to have become very anti, let's have a conversation. Now, if you're not sharing a phone number for practical reasons, surely there is a WhatsApp number that you can share so that people can at least leave you a message on WhatsApp. You need to be sharing your email. And there used to be this big fear of, oh, if I share my email, I'll end up with lots of spam. My personal experience of that is get a good spam filter, and never assume either that they're all working. I always check my spam once a week before I empty it, but make sure it's easy for people to message you. And there are lots of plugins for websites that will allow you to share this sort of information without it just being typed in. So it could be a simple button that says, let's talk on WhatsApp, and it takes them to a WhatsApp chat. It could be that it says, contact me by email, and it opens an email for them ready to fill in your details. To fill in their message, and it will have already put in your details. So these things have to be very simple. You don't want them jumping through lots of other steps in order to actually get in touch with you. Because if they can't get in touch with you, you've just lost any hope of engagement and creating a client. So I'm going to ask you to take 10 minutes. Now, the reason I'm doing this as part of the workshop today is because if we stop and you go back to work and start looking at emails, you're not going to do these things. But I'd like you to do them now, because then this time that you've committed to be here this morning has actually really resulted in action and improvements to your site. So 10 minutes, you will find the self-assessment sheet has either, as I mentioned at the beginning, either been shared with you in Zoom, if you're with me on Zoom, it's been put in the comments where you're looking at the LinkedIn Live event, or I emailed it to you before the event if you booked to watch on Eventbrite. And I am now going to give you 10 minutes. It will be silent. I was asked recently to put some music on in the background, but in order to do that on something that's public, you have to have purchased the rights to do so. So I won't be doing any music. You have got 10 minutes, and that starts now. Just having a quick look at some of your comments on various platforms where you're joining me. Bernie, I'm so thrilled to see that you've already moved your H1 heading. You're just over 5 minutes left. We've got about 3.5 minutes left. Okay, folks, so um, if you have not finished doing the checklist for each of the pages, I really encourage you when we finish today to just get those looked at. It's little simple changes that will make a huge impact, you will find, with your website really, really quickly. So let's talk a bit about design versus function. Good design should support the function of your website, but it is not the goal itself. Now that's difficult because we look at websites, particularly things that we think of as ours, and suddenly we begin to be a bit like Gollum, don't we? It's my website, it's my precious. I want my website to be beautiful and reflect me and all the things I love and care about. But actually, what tends to happen on our websites is that the design overtakes the function. And that results in a website that takes ages to load, or that actually to other people can feel a bit overwhelming, a bit like the wall behind me. When I'm training, several of my students have said, it's a little bit too much for me. Could you perhaps blend your background? And the only reason I'm not doing that today is because when you're live and you use one of those blurry backgrounds, it slows everything down. And I live in Wales on a hill surrounded by trees, so my internet struggles a bit anyway. But the point is, on your site, if you thought more about the design than you have about the function, it's going to be causing you problems. And I'm sorry to tell you this, but it's often the best looking sites that actually end up getting the least results. And when we really look at why, it's because they've spent so much effort and so much, I mean, it looks amazing, but so much time in making things beautiful, they haven't actually stopped and thought, how does this impact the function of what it's supposed to be doing? So it should encourage people to explore. It should be little snippets, ideas, things that feel engaging or clever. And it should also be less. Less is more with a website. I don't know about the rest of you, but one of the things I can't stand is when I get to a website and I just feel overwhelmed. What am I supposed to look at? Where am I supposed to go? Just like we said at the beginning, if that isn't clear to me, I'm off. Life is overwhelming enough. Don't make your website overwhelming. It should be simple, it should be readable, and it should reflect you. Now, that's either you as an individual or you as a team if you're a small business. But how you do that needs to make the most of simple. Simple is the first word in that list for a reason. Make it simple. You know, one of the things we were all taught in marketing was KISS, wasn't it? Keep it stupidly simple. And you do need to keep it incredibly simple, because then that fulfills the desire we had that says, is it easy for people to know what to do? Make it readable. Now that can mean keeping sentences shorter than normal, using language that's really very obvious. One of the big mistakes we all make is we go into business jargon that we know, but other people may never have encountered before. And we see abbreviations or terminology that makes us think, oh dear, I really don't know anything about this. And if somewhere makes me feel like that, I'm going to leave. And it needs to reflect you, because people do still buy from people. So do they like what they see and what they feel? Is it obvious straight away who you are, what you stand for, what your values are, what drives your business? Let's look at some of the common traps that we tend to fall into when we're building our sites. And the first one is overloading people. We have so much to say and we want to tell them all of it, but they don't want to hear all of it. It's too much. So pick one thing for each page. What do I want people to get from reading this part of my site? What do I want them to understand without feeling a bit overwhelmed or overloaded with too much information? Sorry. Another thing we do is we give these very unclear calls to action. We say things like, find out more, learn more. No, I want to buy it. I want to sign up. I want to join. I want to make a commitment. Don't make it waffly and woolly. And I think this is because we're all a bit fearful of sounding pushy. What is your website here for? It's here to make sure that they're going to buy from you. So this is where you get to be pushy. This is where you do get to put on a button, I'm bloody marvellous. Why haven't you bought my product already? Maybe not in quite so many words, but you catch my drift. It needs to say, buy it today, get it now, sign up now, I'm ready. Not learn more, because they've read enough. They're ready. They don't want to learn anymore. They want to buy it. Where is that button? It's amazing to me how often I leave a site thinking I would have bought from them, just couldn't work out how to do it. Slow sites are impactful for two reasons. The first is for the human. We have become impatient online. If something hasn't worked very fast, we tend to assume, which is never a good thing, but we do, we tend to assume it's going to be a slow site or it's not professionally done. This is a bunch of amateurs, we say, and off we go and look at somebody else's. The other thing that happens with slow sites is that dear old Google again says, you're going to slip down my algorithm of ranking for that. I will not find slow sites on the first page of Google. They won't be there. Google thinks that puts people off. And if too often Google is leading you to slow sites, might put you off Google. And we can't have that. So they're only going to promote sites on page one that they believe are working fast enough. And there's lots of other ways they rank you. You'll find a bit more about that later on. And the other thing we tend to do is we fall in love with really fabulously trendy looking outlines and templates that allow us to give these very cool layout, but they're a bit confusing. If it isn't incredibly obvious and simple and clear, people do feel overwhelmed very quickly. And what we thought looked great and really fun and engaging actually ends up making people go, oh, can't be bothered with all that, and they leave. Now, there's a really simple test. It's called the Blink test. The Blink test is based on the theory that if you open up a website and looked at it for 3 seconds, you should be able to tell what the site is, what it does, and who you do it for. Can I do that on the homepage of your website? 3 seconds. It's about how long it takes before we blink when we're looking at a site. Go back to your homepage now and ask yourself that. In 3 seconds, can I tell as a visitor to this site what this person does and who they do it for? You only need 3 seconds for this bit of taking action, but it's surprising, isn't it? Think about the companies who get this right. One of the things I can't bear, I find it really challenging, is online clothes shopping. But we live in the middle of nowhere, so I have to buy most of my clothes online. And I'm a curvaceous lady, so I want to know if my size is stocked. when I go to a website. And if I don't know that within a few seconds of looking, the assumption I make is that they probably don't have my size, and I leave. I find it desperately frustrating when I think, oh, beautiful piece of whatever, follow the link, go to the site. Where's the size chart? How do I know if it's in my size or not? Those are the sites I very, very rarely buy from because they made me have to really search. And I know from my experience, if they haven't made a point of saying, hey, people of all sizes, we see you, then they probably haven't. I'm going to ask you to take some action again. I want you to note down from doing that blink test on your home page, your about page, and the page where you show your packages. Here are our services. Do the blink test on each page, and then I'd like you to write down what I'm going to do to change this if in 3 seconds it isn't obvious. Who is this for and what is it? Take 5 minutes, please, to do that now. I'm going to just check if you've got any questions again anyway. Got 2 more minutes. Okay, folks, so hopefully you've either found that, hey, look at me, aren't I amazing? I must have known this because actually they all passed the blink test. Or what I'm hoping is that was a useful 5 minutes and you have written down some ideas for after today's session, how you're going to change the way that feels when people land on those pages. Now let's talk a bit about trust and action. If your website's doing its job, your credibility is being established. People are going to look at the site and go, wow, okay, like the look of this company or this person. This is a place that feels like other people before me have spent their money here and said, really glad I did that. And the other thing, of course, is it's going to be making it really easy for people to take action. And taking action for small business owners is the critical step. And we're really, really rubbish at it. We talk ourselves out of being too obvious or too pushy. I think all the time I'm hearing from my clients, I just don't want to come across as salesy. And I'm going to challenge that way of thinking a bit, because if you are running a business, you have no business unless you are being salesy. People will only purchase from you if you've made it easy for them. And kind of implying and skirting round issues and suggesting people want to learn more is what's stopping you getting the sales that you deserve. So that language in your head about being pushy or salesy has to stop. And I would replace it with something like, I'm going to make it easy for people to act on their desire to work with me. And by making it easy, I really do mean keeping it incredibly simple, making it bleeding obvious, huge signposts to things so that people will take action. And the first thing we need to look at is how we establish trust. What can you do on a website to get people to think, yeah, this feels like a good place, a safe place, a credible place? Now, testimonials are one of the most obvious ways to do this. And there's lots and lots of ways and little things we can do and consider about testimonials. The first is, if you are online, you need to have claimed your Google business profile. One of the big advantages of your Google business profile is that people can leave testimonials for you there. Whenever you finish work with somebody, make sure you send them the link to leave a testimonial on your Google business profile. And you will find that there is a very good, I'm sure there's more than one, there are good plugins for your website that will allow you to display your Google testimonials. On my personal Celebrant coaching and training website, it updates every single time I get a new testimonial on Google, and they run across the bottom of my page. So you see them flitting through. It's quite pretty, but it doesn't take too much space, so it doesn't slow the site down. And they look great, and people can see, oh, these have come straight from Google. This is not something that she could have just put on here or anybody could have done or made up. These are real from somewhere else. So that's the first thing. The second thing I'd like to say on testimonials, and I often have to say this to my students who are entering a new profession, when we're new in a business or offering something we haven't necessarily done independently before, it's tempting to think, oh no, I haven't got any testimonials. But it's very likely we have testimonials from our previous employment or work. And those aren't just saying you're good at this particular task or this particular job. They're often saying you're trustworthy, you're dependable and reliable, you're thoughtful, you're efficient, you're caring, all of which is still true in your current role. So don't hesitate to use testimonials from your previous experience to help show people, I have a history, I've been working for 30 something years, here are what people have said about me in my previous roles. The other thing I would say about testimonials, make sure you put one on every page of your website. And if you can get people to do a video testimonial, even better, because there is this fear we all have to some extent. Is this testimonial just being created by AI or made up? When you see a video of somebody saying, Fred is fabulous at what they do, you absolutely connect with it and trust it more. Logos. Now, logos play an important role, particularly when they're not your own. So what do I mean? Why would you be sharing anybody else's logos? Well, I want you sharing logos of things that you are part of. So for example, for any celebrants watching today, if you have signed up to the Celebrant Accord, which says you can hold me to these standards, display that logo on your website. Make sure the logo links to the organisation it's about so that people can see, oh, okay, this is an important and credible thing. If you are perhaps a member of a trade association, again, celebrants, it would be the AOIC, the Association of Independent Celebrants, that you may well have joined. If you're a funeral director, you will be a member of probably the Association of Independent Funeral Directors or the British Association of Funeral Directors. You may be an accountant and have signed up to, well, as an accountant, probably a huge number of legal requirements that show you are credible, and you will have certifications. Display them. Let people see you're not some, oh, I think I'll have a go at this. No, you've made a huge commitment to this. You invest in it. You're a member of the trade association. You regularly take CPD. All of these things will establish trust. So make sure those logos are visible on your site. And if you've won an award for something, make sure that's there too, and that people can see it's a credible award. It's not something you bought and paid for. You were nominated and you beat other people and you were recognised for excellence. Now, I've mentioned video reviews because I forgot I put it in as another point, but these are really huge. Video reviews can be used in lots of places. Keep it short, ask people to make them under a minute, because very few people watch anything longer than that, and put them everywhere. Put them on your YouTube channel as a short, put them on your Instagram, and share them in the story as well as in the reels. Make sure you share them on LinkedIn. LinkedIn more and more is liking video content. And of course, make sure it takes pride of place on a page on the website that is relevant to what they're talking about. And collaborations. Now, these are very important from a website perspective. And this is not just something you want to demonstrate by showing, but you want to bring out the magic here, the magic of backlinks. One of the best reasons to invite somebody to be on your blog as a collaborator or just as a person you're going to interview is because you are going to link that blog to their website. You will mention their website and put the link physically in the blog. And you're going to ask them to do the same thing. They're going to put somewhere on their website, read my interview with Samantha here. And the here links to your website. It's one of the reasons to get yourself listed in directories for your profession, because most directories for professional bodies are well established. Google and other search engines know that. And when you list yourself on those directories, one of the things they will do, and make sure they do, is they will put a link in your listing to your website. And what that says to the online is, oh, trustworthy site linking to that little business. That little business must be okay. So your collaboration of being on other people's sites, having other people on yours, talking about people and linking to them is all going to help with building the trust. Now, how do we make it easy, really easy for people to take action? And if you are not doing this, if you're not making it easy, this is the core of your frustration. Look through your site, and it's often a real wake-up moment where you go, there's no action button anywhere. I haven't actually helped people buy this. So, first thing, be specific. Learn more is way too vague, but it's also too big. I haven't got time to learn more. I'm not inclined to learn more yet. I just want to buy the damn thing. So be really specific. Buy here, purchase today, join now. Whatever it is your wording needs to be, make it sound like something they need to do immediately. And be bold. I need to find this button. Don't make it a little bit of text that's highlighted a different colour. Give me a huge button in the middle of the screen that it's really obvious that's the thing I need to press. Because when I'm skimming through your services, if I don't see that button obviously, I'll just skim all the way to the bottom and leave. Now, on websites, we talk about friction, and what that really means is having to go through lots and lots of different things to achieve something. Take out as many next steps as you can. So, for example, if you've listed all your services on one page, don't make them then go to your shop page to buy them. Make sure the button to buy them is also on the page where you're talking about them. If the thing you want them to do is book an appointment with you, don't make them email you. Send them by a button directly to your bookable calendar link. I highly recommend Calendly. I've used it for many years. It has never double booked or failed to tell me about a booking. Highly recommended. Very simple, one step. It's taking them straight to the calendar. They book. We're organised. Action has been taken. So, for trust and action, the really big thing is getting found on Google. And I have created a sheet full of ways to make sure that you are, and to also make sure that you're not doing things that will stop you getting found. If you joined in LinkedIn, please go and look at the discussion tab and you will see I have uploaded the worksheets there. That's the second link. If you have joined through Eventbrite, I emailed you this link this morning. If you're watching on a catch up and you haven't got these, please do get in touch and I will get them straight to you. If you go to my website, you'll find a button that easily helps you get in touch with me, or connect with me on LinkedIn. Now, our next session, and I've put this in here so that I don't forget to tell you about it before I take any questions. Our next session is on content marketing. Content marketing is the bane of most small business owners' lives. We are told constantly this message that if you're not constantly producing new content and out there all the time, people are never going to find you. I'd like us to look at ways to do that don't burn us out, that don't have us up worrying that we're not doing enough or saying enough. So join me on the last Friday in August. It's the 29th of August, 10:15 to 11:45 British summertime. And we will be talking specifically about that. Today, I was allowing kind of 20 minutes or so for some questions. Nobody is live with me in Zoom today, and that is the place where it's easiest to get questions. But I am just going to pop onto the LinkedIn platform and see if anybody in there has any questions. If not, we are going to finish early, which will be lovely, because it means you still have 20 minutes in which you can take the actions on the Google Sheet ideas that I'm sharing with you. So just having a quick look to see if we've got any additional questions. Doesn't look as if we have. Good. Well, I really hope you found this session helpful today. I have tried to keep it very simple. What I would say to summarize on websites in general, if this is something that feels overwhelming and all a bit too much, ask other people you know in your profession who helped you with your website. Don't always ask who built your website, who helped you with your website, because actually owning it and taking responsibility and learning to build it yourself is not as terrifying as you think it is. I've worked from home for, gosh, more years than I care to remember, since 1991. So yes, a very long time. And I had no choice. I didn't have a help desk. I didn't have the resources that other people in my big corporate job at the time had. So I learned WordPress. There are superb, simple YouTube videos that will guide you through the basics of building a site. And if you stick to the principle of what is this really for, I do believe building and managing your own website is absolutely achievable. And I really hope that what you've learned today will make you feel more confident to do that, but also to manage it yourself. If you haven't been able to download the 2 worksheets, please do get in touch with me. The best way to do that is through LinkedIn, Dinah Liversidge. There's only one. And I will get back to you as quickly as I can. So thank you for joining me today. Have a brilliant day and enjoy.